Hi, I'm Elisa. I wanted to do an update on my garden. It's here in an urban setting in Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm a permaculture design specialist. So I went to town on my own yard. Now I have grown in, 4 different climates now, and this is by far has been the hardest. Here's some footage that I took when I first got started. I think this is actually just a picture of my yard. I wanted to show how barren it was, and I had barely started planting anything. This is back in May of 2025. And then fast forward to today, where you can see the growth that has happened in the trees from the vitex. The sweet potatoes took over probably about a third of my yard. And there I am starting to chop them back because they started dying back. And I figured I would help them because I need to get other things in the ground and I need to get to my trees. But right, that next tree over kind of in the middle is an olive tree, and it's just flourishing. It's doing really well. I've got some yellow bells, which are natives, planted underneath it. And I haven't finished out the guild on any of my trees because one of the permaculture principles is to start small, and I needed to get my pioneer trees established first before I continue to build out. Now, I did recently plant a citrus, and I do have like a grapevine along the back, but I don't think that's going to be impacted in quite the same way as some of these other plants that I want to fill in. Now, you can also see my raised beds that I put in, and they're doing really well. I think I have 4 different types of tomato right now, 2 different types of peppers, some loofah, which is, it's a gourd. But if you go to a store and you buy a loofah sponge, this is where that comes from. I say that because it just blew my sister's mind. She thought loofah came from the ocean, and it doesn't. It'll be fun to see if I can process these in the right way to actually get a sponge out of them later. So I'll do a video on that to show you. I did a little bit of experimenting. I put some onion in and some garlic, and those are actually doing some sprouting, but I also threw some, I believe it's turmeric root and some, I can't even think of the word now. I threw some other root vegetables in just to see if they would take off. And I do have one little sprout coming up. It's a really pretty leaf that's spiraled coming out of the ground. So we'll see what it is. But then on the far end, you can see my desert willow with some globe mallow around it. The globe mallow is a lot larger than I thought it was going to grow. So that's kind of been a space issue, and I'm not really sure how I'm going to deal with it. I did put up a little bit of a barrier there so that I could have a walking path because it was really taking over more than I want it to. And then just beyond that is my citrus tree. It's an orange tree with my plan to graft 2 other citruses onto that tree so that I can get down to 1 citrus tree. They take a lot of water, and I'm trying to stay in a certain amount of water, so a water budget, so to speak. I've got a whole video I did on that. If you want to see that, I'll put the link in the comments below. And then just recently I planted the sugarcane. So everything seems to be doing well. Again, I'm just taking little baby steps, adding, subtracting, if something doesn't work. I've got some shrubs, and those are doing really well. One of them is actually an Australian species that's been showing up in Home Depot, and that's the tall shrub right behind the loofah. That actually did really well. I had some boxwood shrubs I thought would be okay because I'm trying to build some privacy to keep people from looking over the fence from the park behind us. And the boxwoods didn't make it. They died pretty fast. Rest in peace, boxwoods. But the Texas sage or Texas something, that's flourishing. It's just smaller than I thought it would be. So, here we go. I tested things out. I tried them. It's a beautiful plant. That didn't grow vertically as much as I thought it would, but that's okay. Okay, plan B, right? I can put a boysenberry shrub behind it, and maybe I'll trellis it upwards, which I've already bought the boysenberry, but the first one didn't work. Let's move on to a second idea. If the second idea doesn't work, then we'll move on to a third idea. When you build a permaculture plan, and I built mine in phases, which those videos you can watch on my channel. I did mine in phases because I wanted to slowly build out and give things time to figure out if they were going to actually work in my yard. I'm very space limited. I think total growing area for my yard is about 450 square feet. That's not counting my patio, which I probably could do some growing there, like a vertical growing situation, a vertical tower. Maybe I'll try later on. But for right now, I'm just trying to get things that are on soil and trying to help start building that biodiversity. Start making sure that there's plants that can be pollinated, that can feed all the insect life, the birds, the bees, all of that. And so I'm really trying to encourage that to come back, and it's doing really well. I see so many butterflies now, where before maybe we'd see one once in a while in my front yard, but nothing in the backyard because there just wasn't anything growing. There's nothing for them to come visit unless I put out like a hummingbird feeder. So I hope this was helpful to you. If you have questions, you want to know more about a particular reason I picked something or didn't pick something. For example, false end there. I originally, instead of an olive, I had a mesquite tree planned, but I couldn't get a hold of a mesquite tree. They were not being sold anywhere. I don't know why. End of summer, and not a single mesquite anything. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to pivot. I'm going to go with an olive because I'm really trying to get some pioneer trees in, and I want them to start growing so that they can give shade for the other mid-canopy trees that I want to be able to bring in. Olive tree, I don't know that it will serve that purpose, and if it doesn't, well, maybe by the time I figure that out, I will be able to get a hold of a mesquite. I don't know. But either way, I'm looking for trees and plants that have multiple purposes. They're going to provide shade. They're going to provide food. They're going to provide wood, whatever it is. I liked the mesquite because you could get food from it. You would have wood from it, and it's nitrogen fixing, and it grows to the water available, and it just thrives in this environment. I mean, there was so many pluses for a mesquite tree that it was really hard for me to let go of putting one in. But maybe there's a reason. I don't know. And so I want to encourage you in your own yard, in your own landscape, when you're planning to start with the basics, put your pioneers in, right? Your pioneer trees, your pioneer plants where you need them. Have your paths planned out for where you're going to move around the yard. And those are your two first elements that you're really going to go with. And then everything else gets filled in. But have a backup plan. Have a plan B. Have a plan C. It's okay. It doesn't mean you have to have those, but it's nice to have just in case something happens. Like you can't find the tree. All right. Well, thanks for listening and happy growing.